if you were jaywalking, does that give a drunk driver or a driver who's texting the right to hit you and not be on the lookout and not drive safely? Absolutely not.
If you're hit by a car while you're walking down the street, do you know what your rights are and how you can get help? Well, we're going to find out right now, because that's what we're going to ask the lawyer. Hi again, everybody. I'm Rob Rosenthal with AskTheLawyers.com. My guest is Wyoming attorney Grant Lawson with the Metier Law Firm. I want to remind you right off the top, if you want to ask Grant questions about your situation, it's easy to do. Just go to AskTheLawyers.com. Click the button up in the upper right-hand part of the page that says Ask a Lawyer. It'll walk you right through the process. Doesn't cost anything to ask a question. Grant, it's always great to see you. Thank you for making some time to answer our questions.
Always. Love being here and love being with you, Rob. So thank you.
So I imagine with the beautiful weather this time of year, people are out walking, people are also driving. Unfortunately, that means more collisions between cars and pedestrians. Let's talk about that a little bit. If someone's a pedestrian, they're walking down the street, they're struck by a car, what's your advice? What should they do after obviously getting medical attention?
Yeah, well, it's that time of year. Kids are going back to school, both college and grade school. People are out enjoying the nice weather. People are, walking their kids to school, riding their bikes. There's a lot more pedestrian traffic, right. Starting in August through the fall, for people going back to school, going back to work with COVID. Restrictions relaxed, people are starting to get out there a little bit more, and so there are going to be a lot more people on the road and walking, and a lot more pedestrian traffic, so to speak. And so it's important that if you're involved in a collision, an accident where you're hit as a pedestrian, that you of course get medical treatment and go through that process. But the next thing to do is to make sure that you are talking with the investigating officer and make sure a report is made. Okay. Typically that happens regardless, but if not, you want to make sure you contact law enforcement. And then you want to contact an attorney, because what you're going to need to know is whether or not that driver had insurance, whether there's going to be medical coverage that is going to help pay for your medical bills. Also, for serious injuries, whether or not there's insurance coverage to cover you for future medical treatment, any lost wages, lost claims, any sort of pain and suffering damages, things that have come along those lines. And so it's very important to make sure that you're not just contacting the insurance company for who hit you, because that's going to be who's going to want to try and get you to settle it out cheap. And not give you the full value for what you've been through.
Let's talk a little bit more about the hospital coverage and paying for that. Is that the kind of thing that someone should initially use their own health insurance for? Is there ever a time when their auto insurance would cover a pedestrian accident? How does that work?
Yeah, so absolutely start with your own health insurance. There's going to probably be a situation where your health insurance will be able to recover or be paid back from whoever hit you, their insurance company. And the process would be that, your insurance will kick in, cover you for the health needs that you have, but then you're going to find out whether or not their insurance policy covers medical expenses. And then also as a kind of a backstop, if you have your own auto insurance and potentially a home insurance policy that may have some coverage to provide medical benefits on top of your own health insurance if you have it or if you don't have it.
Grant, what if it turns out to be a hit and run? The driver of the car drives off. Is there anything someone like yourself can do to help in that situation?
Absolutely. In this day and age, fortunately, cameras are everywhere. Whether there's city cameras at the intersection where the hit occurred, or there's businesses that have, or homes that have cameras outward facing towards the street. A lot of times, and it may not just be the exact location, there may be a house or a business or an intersection that's within close proximity that we know that driver had to drive through that may have been on camera. And so even though the hit itself, the collision itself didn't happen on camera, there may be other cameras out there and other witnesses out there who could help identify who the driver was, who the vehicle was, provide details, maybe even a license plate number, those sort of important details that help law enforcement track down who did the hit and run. And of course, law enforcement in their investigation would be doing this as well. But attorneys, have a little bit more power in that they can start really looking into what businesses, homes, other places were in the vicinity to try and track down if there's additional cameras and information that other people may have.
That makes a lot of sense. We hear a lot of talk about, jaywalking. Does it matter if the pedestrian was jaywalking, not crossing in a crosswalk or something like that? Does that mean they don't have a case?
It depends. Obviously, it depends on the factual situation. There may be a comparison of, well, if you were jaywalking, does that give a drunk driver or a driver who's texting the right to hit you and not be on the lookout and not drive safely? Absolutely not. So just because somebody may be technically jaywalking, that doesn't alleviate a driver from their responsibilities and duties to be watching what's going on the road, to be driving smart and following the laws and the rules. And so that doesn't necessarily just mean, hey, I was jaywalking, I can't do anything about this. There may be more to the story, and that's why it needs to be investigated.
Still go ahead and contact an attorney and get their
Absolutely
expert opinion. What if the collision occurs with, say, a city bus or some other municipal vehicle? Does that change things, complicate things? What happens there?
Well, it changes things in a couple respects. One, those drivers, especially of city buses or commercial vehicles, anything along those lines, have almost a heightened duty because they know that they're going to be driving through areas with pedestrian traffic. They have bigger vehicles. They're harder to stop. They've got to be driving slower, be on the lookout. They're being paid. They're professional drivers. That's what they do. And so, one, there's going to be additional responsibilities that may come up. Two, there's going to be most likely increased insurance. The insurance coverage that a city bus or some sort of commercial vehicle that's involved will have additional insurance. There's going to be probably investigators who are going to want to call, insurance representatives who are going to want to call you if you've been hit, try and pick you off, so to speak, on information. And it's important that you contact a lawyer and make sure that you prevent them from getting you to make statements that are that they're going to try and use against you at a later time.
Always helpful advice, Grant. Thank you so much for making some time to answer our questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And stay safe out there, everyone, while you're out walking and riding bikes. And I hope everybody has a great fall.
I love that. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Ask the Lawyer. My guest has been Wyoming attorney Grant Lawson with the Metier Law Firm. Remember, if you'd like to ask Grant questions about your specific situation, it's easy to do. Go to askthelawyer.com. Click the button at the top of the page that says Ask a Lawyer, and it'll walk you right through the very simple process right there. Thanks for watching. I'm Rob Rosenthal with Ask the Lawyers.